HomeKit Secure Video. It's Apple's security camera service that basically takes several different brands of cameras and makes them Apple cameras. It's part of HomeKit, which is Apple's smart home platform, and it allows you to securely view your cameras, and you can use it for your home or your business. Now, when shopping for HomeKit Secure Video cameras, there are several different considerations. The service itself is very basic, but with each brand of camera comes some different features. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to kind of do a buyer's guide and what you should look for when you're shopping for one of these cameras. Let's get started. What up, everybody? It's George Langenbeer with SilverHammer Surveillance. Here on the channel, we talk tech and we talk security. Today, we're talking Apple HomeKit and HomeKit Secure Video. What is that? It's Apple's security camera service. It's part of HomeKit, which is Apple's smart home platform. HomeKit, basically, you can put all sorts of cool different smart devices in one central location and control them. You can use that using an iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple TV, and HomePod Mini. And basically, you can control your devices when you're not home. You can use Siri to control your devices when you are home. It's a very secure platform. And with HomeKit Secure Video, basically, you're adding cameras to that mix. And so you can secure your home or your business. So mentioning what type of devices you can use HomeKit on and HomeKit Secure Video on, you do need a hub for it to work remotely. And a hub can be an iPad, an Apple TV, a HomePod, or a HomePod Mini. And basically, if you've got a hub in your home, then you can view these cameras remotely. You can use all your HomeKit devices remotely. Now, when you're talking about HomeKit Secure Video, one of my favorite features about it is the privacy. Apple uses a very high level of encryption, and so your cameras are very secure. When you're talking about Google Home and Amazon and some others, you're kind of worried about privacy. Well, I feel pretty good in Apple's hands in that regard. That encryption is hardcore. Okay, so another benefit to these cameras is a lot of Wi-Fi cameras like Nest and others will require you to have a monthly fee for your cloud storage. With HomeKit Secure Video, all you need is iCloud Plus, which is a service through Apple that you may already have. It's just an upgraded iCloud storage plan. But it will securely keep your videos recorded in the cloud, and you're good to go. So that's another benefit. Okay, now that we've talked about some of the basics, let's talk about some of the features that are shared with all these cameras in HomeKit Secure Video. Basically, they'll be in HomeKit, so you'll have all your smart home devices on your phone and your tablet or your iPad. You'll have your cameras at the bottom of the screen. You'll be able to press on them and bring them up large and get a scroll of your footage. You'll be able to see them on an Apple TV interface, which now with the latest updates gives you a nice screen with all your cameras on it. And then you can do different things with Siri with your HomePod. But it's going to store it securely with that encryption I told you about. And then you can set up different notifications for when you're home and when you're away. You can set up different notifications between family members. You can kind of determine if you want to stream, so you just see your cameras but not record them. You can do that when you're home and when you're away. There's several different features that are shared with this. You got event recording, which is people, vehicles, animals, and then motion. And the cool thing about this, since it's Apple, if you've named people in your Apple Photos, which if you go to Apple Photos, you can name all the people, and it's got facial recognition, and it'll kind of create albums of your favorite people. Well, if you've named the people in Apple Photos, then this will automatically notify you by name who it sees. So that facial recognition is pretty cool and eliminates a lot of false alarms. So those are basically the shared features. You'll have the same interface for each camera on the HomeKit app. And then where it gets a little different is if these cameras are just made for HomeKit Secure Video, then that's it. That's all you worry about. But some of these cameras have their own native app, and that adds a whole different level of features, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, to go along with that, you'll have cameras like the Logitech Circle View. Now, this camera is specifically designed for HomeKit Secure Video. What does that mean? It means that it's set up through HomeKit, you view it in HomeKit, you see the recordings in HomeKit, and that's it. And that's great, because the service itself is fantastic. But on the flip side of that, all these other cameras, which is Aqara, VocaLink, Eufy, Eve, they all have their own native app. What does that mean? It means in addition to seeing their cameras in the Home app, you're also going to be able to see them in the native app. And why is that important? It's important because sometimes there's different features in their native app that add to the camera experience. So for example, Aqara and this Eufy camera, they pan and tilt. So you'll have control of the camera where you can spin it 360 and that kind of thing. You can't do that in the HomeKit app. So you got to go to the native app to do that. In HomeKit Secure Video, you've got event recording, which is people, vehicles, animals, and motion. And that's all you're going to record. Some of these cameras have SD cards. You put the SD card in there, and some of them you can get 24/7 video. So you're going to get a little more video out of these if you've got a native app. You've got different things like the Aqara camera has got gestures that you can do that do different things. Ecobee plays really well with the thermostat in their app. So there's a lot of different things in the native apps that you can do that you can't necessarily do in HomeKit Secure Video. Eve, they've got a native app, which is a great HomeKit app. So it almost can completely replace the Home app, and it does all the same things. You can have all your different devices in there. Eve's got several different accessories that they can put in there themselves, but even if it's not an Eve device, it can be in there just like the Home app. So native apps can be a big deal, or you can just be an Apple snob and want to keep it in HomeKit Secure Video. I'm kind of the Apple snob. I like to keep it simple, but it doesn't mean that some of the features in these 8 native apps they're fantastic. So in addition to that, there's other considerations with these cameras that are a little different. Like I said, the very basic features of HomeKit Secure Video are all the same, but then there's things like native resolution. So if you do have a native app, like this is a 2K camera, HomeKit Secure Video brings everything down to 1080p, which is still a great resolution, but now you've got 2K and 4K, and there's other resolutions out there. So if you want to enjoy that, you've got to have the native app. Also, you want to consider things like night vision. So, even though these kind of all have just become Apple cameras, they've got different features like night vision. So you want to, get the best night vision. Some, like this Eufy camera's got a nice white light, turns into color night vision, and that can be great. Whereas some cameras just have a very limited night vision, like 30 feet or so. And that night vision is basically if you can't see your hand in front of your face, the camera will see that far. So you want to take that into consideration. Some of these cameras are indoor or outdoor. For some reason, a lot of these cameras are just made for indoors, and that kind of drives me nuts because I think a lot of cameras should go outdoors. People do use indoor cameras for their teenagers or their pets, or like in my case, we live in an apartment downtown here. I like to have it for maintenance people and whatever is going on in our apartment. But, you want to decide if it's weather rated. Like the Eufy camera, this is a great outdoor camera. The Logitech Circle View is a great outdoor camera. One thing I don't like about, and this is another consideration, is the design. So when you're installing this camera, this has got this cable coming off of it, and you've got to figure out a way to hide this cable. So a lot of these are very simple. They've just got power cables that come off them, which I don't have here. Or there's battery cameras. Eufy's got some great battery life. They claim up to 365 days. And I find that that's pretty true. So this is it. You put this up outside and you're done. But a lot of these cameras are just indoor, like these two, and the Eve camera. And actually pretty much everything here except for these two. So do you want indoor or outdoor? I personally think the security is most important outdoor because one of my favorite parts of security cameras is being proactive. I'd rather be proactive instead of reactive. I'd rather be alerted that there's people in my yard before they get to my house. And basically with that HomeKit Secure Video and that person recognition, especially if you've named them through Apple Photos, you're going to get alerts that people are in your yard, and if it's somebody you're going to know it, and you're not even going to have to look at it because it's just your wife or your husband or whatever it may be. So those are also considerations in addition to just having the HomeKit Secure Video alone and then the native app. Okay, in addition to some of those considerations, some of these things just do really cool stuff like people tracking. So when it sees a person, it'll follow them. Now, it'll only do that in the native app. Some of these cameras are security systems like Eufy and Aqara. They're actually alarm systems. So again, when people tell me that cameras can't be alarm systems, guess what? They're wrong. Go back and watch my controversial video on security systems. Man, I'm telling you, cameras are where it's at. Proactive. Be proactive. Anyway. So yeah, you've got cool features like that. Some of these have pet commands. They'll actually talk to your pets for you. Eufy does that. Now that won't work in just the HomeKit app. So you've got to have the native app to do that. So keep in mind when you do some of this stuff, you do have to have that native app. Okay, so then when you've taken the features into consideration, let's move on to the build quality and design. Like I already kind of mentioned, some of these are indoor or outdoor. That's very important. Now, if they're outdoor, you want it to be a pretty durable camera, not only for the elements, but to also be vandal-proof. Is the camera easily stolen? This camera, the base isn't that strong, but if you put it high enough, you're fine. This camera, same thing. Like Arlo, for example, they've got little magnet mounts. You can just walk up and grab the camera. This one at least makes you work for it. And then some of these cameras, they're kind of on the cheaper plastic side, but when they're indoors and you're just using them for your pets or teenagers, that's fine. You don't need anything crazy. I think probably the Ecobee is really well made. As far as indoor cameras go, this one's probably the most solid that we have sitting here anyway. But you want to keep in mind the build quality. A lot of these cameras aren't that expensive, which we'll talk about in a second, but they get the job done. But you want the most bang for your buck, and you want them to be well made. And then we already kind of talked about this too, but you want to determine if you're plugging in the camera or if it's battery powered. A lot of these do require power cords. So again, some people have told me in the comments of some of our videos that they try to put these outside and they hide them under gutters and things like that. Well, that's fine if your camera lasts, but you'll probably be replacing those power cords because if they get wet. So you just want to keep that all in mind. And also just for the general install, if you got to plug these in, you've got to get creative about how you're hiding cords and things like that. So build quality and just the general design is very important and kind of sets each one of these apart. And so, like I said, HomeKit Secure Video is very basic. It's all kind of the same thing as far as the features go. But when you're trying to decide which camera to buy, all these things come into play. Okay, before we move on from the build quality and the design and being vandal-proof and all that good stuff, I want to talk about two more things. Number one is the two-way audio. Two-way audio is very important because you can scare somebody away when they're approaching your yard. You can tell them you've got to call the police, you've got a gun, you've got a dog, whatever you want to tell them, but you want a good speaker and a good microphone. And also, we kind of already covered this a little bit, but weather rating is very important. We've got an upcoming video on the new Nest cameras that are kind of failing some people in bad weather. And those are outdoor rated cameras. You want to make sure that your camera has a good weather rating. So this Eufy camera, for example, has got a great weather rating. So you want to make sure that no matter where you live, that it's going to survive outside. So I just wanted to mention those two things before we move on. Now, we can't talk about a buyer's guide without talking a little vanity. You want your cameras to look good, right? So you got the black cameras, you got white cameras. Most of the people have done a lot of market research, and they've determined that black and white are the most popular. You will find white cameras more often just because it tends to blend in with more houses. But you want to, the aesthetics of it. Is it a cool looking camera? Yeah, I know that's probably not the most important on your list, but, a lot of people want their cameras to look good. So the color, the design, does it just look nice on your house? Keep that in mind. Okay, another consideration when you're talking about HomeKit Secure Video is video doorbells. Video doorbells kind of started the entire revolution of cameras at home. When I first started putting cameras on houses, only shady people had cameras on their house. You were a drug dealer, you were doing something shady. Now everybody's got cameras on their house. And why did that happen? It happened because of the video doorbell. Now, unfortunately, there's not too many options in HomeKit Secure Video right now, and it's very disappointing because it's one of my favorite things to put on a house, and I just think that that's something that's lacking. Now, we've got the Logitech Circle View doorbell, which is great. We've got one out here, which I'll show you. And then you've got the new Wemo doorbell coming out, which is incoming. There's some people that already have their hands on it. Looks like a pretty good, cool doorbell. I'll be reviewing that as soon as possible. But what's cool about the HomeKit Secure Video doorbells is you get alerts on your Apple TV. So if you're sitting there watching TV, you get a pop-up that somebody's at the door. You get alerts over your HomePods. So instead of like a doorbell chime, the ding-dong, it's going to announce that somebody's at the door. And if it's somebody it knows through Apple Photos, it's going to say by name who's at the door. So that's very cool. Now, other services do that, like, the Google speakers do that. But HomeKit is very cool in that Apple TV pop-up. I really like it. So the video doorbells, hopefully that just continues to grow. And the fact that there's new ones coming in after CES 2022, it's very exciting. Bring them on. Okay, and then whether we're talking about cameras or video doorbells, the cool thing about HomeKit Secure Video is you can kind of mix and match. Now, me personally, I'm all about having the same brand, but that's just me. But the nice thing is you can do all these different things, and it's still within the same platform. It's still in the HomeKit app, and you got it all in the nice little same interface. So, it kind of opens up the possibilities of what you can do. So as these new devices come out, you're not locked into just having that same brand. If you've got Nest or whatever it may be, you're kind of locked into that same ecosystem. Whereas with HomeKit Secure Video, the possibilities are limitless. If you're not a freak like me, I'm so weird about my brands. I wish I could get over it. Teresa, I know you think it's crazy. A lot of people think it's crazy.
It's not crazy.
It's not crazy.
You just take it to a little bit of crazy.
I take it to an extreme. All right, so that's it. So last but not least, we're talking a buyer's guide. One of the things to consider is the price. Some of these are insanely cheap. You can usually get this camera right here for like $30. Some of them go up to $250. Some of them, and you're kind of paying for the build quality. You're kind of paying for whether or not it's indoor or outdoor. And I'm not going to rattle off prices because they change a lot. And I'd like to think this buyer's guide is going to stand the test of time. So I'm not going to narrow down to prices, but you want to consider price. And, my general rule of thumb with surveillance is you definitely get what you pay for. But when you're talking about an indoor camera that you're just using for pets or teenagers, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this camera. Eve's pretty cheap as well. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not worried about somebody tampering with it, if you're just in an apartment or a house where it's just for your kids or pets, just get a nice cheap camera and put it up. You still got the same cool features as all the expensive ones without the price tag. Okay, so before we wrap up, I just want to give an honorable mention to some cameras that are not sitting here. I don't have every single HomeKit Secure video camera here. But Tabmo makes some great HomeKit cameras. There's always going to be new ones coming out in the future, but I did want to give you some examples of some of the cameras out there now. Hopefully this buyer's guide helped. HomeKit Secure Video is a very basic platform. Actually, I say basic, it's full of features, but it's very simple, and all these cameras have the same feature when they're those Apple cameras. But I just wanted to cover that there's other things to consider, the features, the build quality, all that stuff. But tell me, what HomeKit Secure Videos cameras do you have? What played into the decision when you bought yours? Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Was night vision important to you? The native resolution, whatever it may be. Let me know in the comments. But again, I really hope this helped. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, smash the like button. We like having you here on the channel. We really appreciate your support. So subscribe, hit that bell notification for future videos. And until our next one, peace and love.